Okay, everyone. So no doubt we will have some latecomers that will be admitted as they join. But first of all, I just want to welcome you all and say thanks so much for joining us. Really pleased to have you with us for our Kickstart briefing for Portsmouth Employers. Great to see so many smiling faces. As an organisation, Shaping Portsmouth is really proud to be delivering this session today and contributing to supporting small businesses, medium businesses and large businesses across the city to embrace this really exciting opportunity to give young people a career development opportunity, but also to hopefully help businesses across the city to benefit from the great new ideas and the enthusiasm that young people on a Kickstart programme can bring. So if we could just move on for me, Stuart. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name's Hayden Taylor. I'm the non-executive director at Shaping Portsmouth and look after education and skills strategy. And I'm also the managing director of an organisation called Unlock. We're a social enterprise that operates in the city, and we deliver programmes to around 150 schools and colleges. And in today's session, we will go through what the Kickstart scheme is, how it works, and we'll go through some of the practical bits and pieces with, and we're really lucky actually to have Kerry with us, and I'll get all of our team to introduce themselves in a second. And then we're also really lucky to have Jane, who will then cover off the training provision and some of the free offers of support that are available in the city for Kickstarters. And then finally, we'll have some question and answer opportunities as well. And Stuart's going to be monitoring the chat for any of those questions. So feel free to pop them in throughout today's session, but we'll answer them all at the end. So we're not going to do them as we go. We'll answer all of the questions towards the end of today's session. We are going to prioritise questions from employers. I know we've got a number of training providers with us as well, with us today. So really great to see you, but we are going to prioritise employer questions today to try and get as much value out of our short session together. So without further ado, we're going to get started. So we can just move on for me, Stuart. So why are we covering the Kickstart scheme? Why did Shaping Portsmouth think this was so important? Well, we think when delivered properly and with the right support and infrastructure, this can be a really powerful way to support local young people, but also to support businesses in the process. And as an organisation, we have a whole range of partners across the city, associates, partners, and a whole range of other partners that work with us to add value to the lives of young people, but also we want to add value to our business partners. So we hope that today we'll achieve exactly that by giving you the information and guidance that you need to decide whether the Kickstart scheme is something that will be valuable for your business. We're also going to highlight the access to training and support that there is in the city. We've got a whole range of really useful resources available to employers taking on Kickstart placements from the local colleges and other providers too. And fundamentally, the reason we're here is because of our mission as an organisation, which is about making Portsmouth the best city to live, learn, work, invest and visit. And we really do think that the Kickstart scheme is one way that we can achieve that. So I'm going to hand over to Kerry Honey now, who will guide us through the basics of the programme and talk through some of the logistics as well. Thanks. Over to you, Kerry.
Hi, afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me on to talk about Kickstart. We've done a few of these over the last few months, and it's nice to know that there's so much interest from employers in the city with regards to Kickstart. So yeah, if we could move on then, that would be lovely. Thank you. So just as an overview, I'm sure everyone on the call has now heard of the plan for jobs announced by the Chancellor a few months ago. This is one of the projects that's come out of that and is aimed at 16 to 24-year-olds. We all know that that age group is always hit hardest by any recession. In the last recession, about a third of the customers claiming benefits were aged 18 to 24. Got a couple of stats on there. Around 700,000 young people were leaving education this year. Obviously, some of those have found it very difficult to get into work. The brilliant thing about the Kickstart scheme is, although we call it a placement, it is effectively a 25-hour-a-week job for 16 to 24-year-olds who are currently on universal credit. We have had some questions about people who aren't on universal credit. At the moment, it's only available to those that are on universal credit, although I'm told there might be some changes to that next year, but that's where we are with it at the moment. Thank you. So the bid process. If you want to bid in your own right as an employer, you need to have a minimum of 30 job placements available. Now, many of our employers across the city won't have that many, but that's fine. If you're a single employer without that many job placements, you've got a couple of other options. Either you can join a group of other employers and nominate one of those as your representative for the group and submit an application together, or you can register with, on this slide, it calls it representatives, but they tend to be calling them gateway organisations now, such as local authorities like the Portsmouth City Council, Chambers of Commerce, Solent and Lep, for example, are all going to be gateway organisations that you can submit your jobs through, and we will go through that as we go through the presentation. Thank you, Stuart. So there's no limit to the number of placements an employer can offer, but what you might want to think about as an employer is how would you support those young people while they're with you. So if you have 10 people on a placement, that's a lot of people to support. So you want to have a think about how many people you think you can effectively support. We want to encourage everyone to be involved, no matter how small. And again, we've got a lot of very small businesses across the city, and they are looking at increasing the criteria so that more people can be involved. So initially it was only for people who were registered at Companies House, and you had to have a Companies House number, but they're looking at opening it up to sole traders, partnerships, or one director companies as well. When you submit a bid, you need to put in the job description to support that placement being offered, and how you will help the participant to develop their skills and build their experience. We'll also provide you with some information as we go through about the support that's available to do that. Thank you. So your bid should include, ideally, thinking about longer term work, so career advice. So if your placement is only going to be for 6 months, it would be lovely if in 6 months you thought you'd be able to keep them on. But if you can't, how will you support them to look for other work, or put them in with your network so they can maybe find other employment through that? Obviously, CV and interview technique and preparation, perhaps some mock interviews to help them. The interview they do for you to get this placement might be their very first interview. So in 6 months' time, they might need to recap on some of that moving forward, building on all the skills and experience they've gained whilst they're on the placement. It also talks here about basic skills, but they're also talking about timekeeping, attendance, working as part of a team. Again, many of these young people, it'll be their first or second job working for you. So it's about just developing all that side of things. Then it mentions on there about the Companies House reference number. But as I mentioned just now, things are moving all the time with Kickstart. It's a bit of a fluid or agile, as they like to use the word, process, and it is changing all the time. But at the moment, you would need a Companies House reference number for your application. Thank you. So funding. These placements are paid for by the government, and you get 100% of the national minimum wage for 25 hours a week, plus associated national insurance contributions and the employer minimum automatic enrolment contributions. Now, if you think you've got a job that's actually going to be 30 hours a week, you're more than welcome to pay them for the extra hours. So the 25 hours a week is what you will receive from the government, but you can employ them for more. In addition to that, you will get £1,500 per job placement for setup costs, support and training. Now, we've had lots of questions about what that might look like, and really it's up to you as the employer. The money is yours to spend as you see fit. Some people are spending it all on training. Some people are supporting their applicants with travel costs. Others might need extra computer equipment, etc., to set up the young person. So whatever you need, you can spend that £1,500 on. In addition, the Gateway organisation, if you go through a Gateway, will get £300 of funding around the administrative costs of bringing together those employers. It then mentions apprenticeship. So Kickstart isn't an apprenticeship, but they could always move on it to an apprenticeship at the end of the 6-month placement. And then you've got some details at the bottom there of the current national minimum wage rates. Thank you. So what's the role of the representative or Gateway organisation? So the Gateway organisations effectively, once they've been approved, get a letter asking them to enter into a grant agreement with DWP. It says no details available of this yet. I should have taken that out because this is a bit of an old presentation. So that is all sorted now. And I know Jane's had hers this week, so she might be able to tell you a bit more about that. The Gateway organisation will sign that agreement and have to return it to DWP before any placements can begin. If you're an employer under a Gateway organisation, the money goes to the Gateway organisation and they will pay you the wraparound costs and the wage costs. Talks there about costs associated are negotiable, and that's because, for example, some Gateway organisations are offering training that you might want to then purchase out of that £1,500. Now, you may have heard that some employers have been rejected from Kickstart Scheme. They do checks on the companies that are applying to take part, again, around making sure that the placements will be successful. So looking at the job descriptions you're putting in, looking at the support you're offering, etc. You don't have to be put off if you're rejected, because we can always explain to you why you've been rejected and offer you support so that you can go through it again if you'd like to try again. Thank you. So it says on here that we'll share all the Gateway organisations' details with you. You can actually look at them now. They're on gov.uk, and you can decide who's the best Gateway organisation for you to join. And it talks about the list is currently growing. Yeah, it's growing all the time. So there should be people that you either know that you want to work with, or lists of other people in your area that you want to join up with. And we've already mentioned that the LEPs and local authorities in general are acting as gateways and might be your first port of call. So once we've had some successful bids come through, the placements will be passed on to the local job centre plus work coaches. So the way it works is when a work coach is working with their caseload of young people, if they're eligible for Kickstart, a little Kickstart button comes up on their screen, and the work coach can press that button and they will see all the opportunities that are available within a 90-minute travel to work area for that customer. So it's going to link to that customer's postcode. You decide on the selection process and the number of applicants you want, and work coaches will support their customers to apply for those vacancies. And when if you said you want 10 applications, for example, once you've reached those 10, we've submitted 10 people, the vacancy will effectively close in much the same way as any other vacancy that you would be advertising. You choose who you want to take part in the Kickstart scheme, and then they are effectively employed and will go on your payroll. Just to reiterate, it's 25 hours a week for 6 months for each placement. And as I've mentioned before, you can employ them for more hours if you want and top up the difference. Thank you. So looking forward to next year. So this is available until at least the end of next year. Who knows, it might even be extended. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. I have shut them out and they're still making a lot of noise. Oh, and somebody else's has just joined me. That's good. That's made me lose my thread now, hasn't it? Yes, sorry, it's completely fluid scheme at the moment. So we know it's going to be open until the end of next year. So you don't necessarily have to have placements that are going to start in January or February. You can have placements that are going to start next March, April, May, June, what have you. That's all fine. We want them. We don't want everything in January and nothing the rest of the year. There's plenty of information on gov.uk about Kickstart. Of course, you can ask us questions today or come back to us at any time if there's anything you want to ask. And we also have a range of other programmes and support options available to help our customers move into work. So if you want to, for example, you might think about having them on work experience before they start a Kickstart placement, or you might want to talk about apprenticeships or anything like that, feel free to give us a call or an email. And I think the last slide is just some links to the gov.uk. So when we send the slides out, you'll have access to all of that information. Thank you. I think we're going to answer questions at the end.
Yes, thanks, Kerry. That was really, really helpful. Hopefully that gives everyone an overview of the programme. If you've got more specific questions, please use the chat function and pop them in as and when they come up, and we'll answer them at the end of today's session. So as you think of questions, do pop them into the chat. Thanks, Kerry. That was really, really, really helpful. I'm now going to hand over to Jane Lemaire from Portsmouth City Council, who's going to talk to you a bit about the local offer.
So hello everybody, my name's Jane Lemaire and I'm the business manager for employment, learning and skills at Portsmouth City Council. So as Kerry's just said, we've been confirmed this week as a gateway organisation. So that means our first 2 cohorts have been approved. I'm very aware that I think there are at least 2 people in the room that are part of those cohorts. And just before they start firing off emails at me going, oh, I haven't been told yet that I can recruit, that's because we're just going through the process of approving the grant as we move through this. And when we have the grant confirmed, then we'll be able to actually start recruitment with you all. So we're doing a lot of paperwork at the moment to make sure that that's all ready. But we're also at the same time getting together another cohort so that we can move this forward for more employers. So as a gateway organisation, we're not just representing Portsmouth City Council in applying for placements, but we're supporting our colleagues across Portsmouth in taking on a gateway for your own organisation. Now, within this work, there was a mention that we get paid £300 for each of the external placements that we help process. What that covers is the time in putting together that application, but far more importantly, from your perspective, the time in paying you, because what you'll find is you get your initial grant of £1,500 right early on within the first weeks, and then at the end of each month, after you've paid out on the wages, you then get the money back retrospectively from the government. So that money will come through to you every month for the 6 months that you're paying out those wages. Now, our other job as a gateway isn't just about processing the money, it's also about making sure that these young people go into sustained employment. And that might be with your organisation, which is absolutely brilliant, or it might be that we actually have to help them move on to employment with another organisation, because either you aren't in a position at the end of the 6 months to offer a placement, or you always knew you weren't, and it's about finding the right place for these young people. How we're going to do that is through a whole host of ways, working with skills providers across Portsmouth. So that's our 2 colleges, as well as the different skills providers within the city. We're going to be working with the National Careers Service right from the beginning with these young people to offer them a range of information, advice and guidance, which is going to support them from the beginning all the way through to make sure they're really recognising the skills that they're developing. But far more importantly, our skills providers can support you as organisations to make sure that these young people are getting the skills to make them more employable to stay within your business. Now, Shaping Portsmouth and Portsmouth City Council are also partnering with the Solent Apprenticeship Hub, who can offer you independent advice and guidance as a business as we go through this process about where an apprenticeship might suit your organisation for this young person, or where apprenticeships might fit in for some of your existing staff. And that's very much about making sure that you're aware of all of the offer that is in the city to help your business grow. Now, the apprenticeship offer is just part of that, but the Apprenticeship Hub can also support you with understanding the different skills offer that's out there and the sort of things that our colleges and skills providers can offer you. And that is very, very broad for fully funded training that you can access for these young people or for other members of your staff team. And they can talk you through what the different options are. But for our Kickstart placements, we know that they'll be eligible for some pre-work. So you could have as part of your recruitment process that individuals are accessing particular courses. If you know you're going to recruit for a particular industry and you want them to be up together with understanding the care industry, for example, or you want them to get their CSCS card, then we can use funding like the CSF construction training funding. But far more importantly, once you've recruited, our wonderful skills providers can provide a whole range of courses to ensure that your obligation to support the young person is met, but also we're helping these young people achieve their very best throughout the process. So that can be everything from employability training, which is one of the commitments that as employers we all give to a young person who's coming onto this scheme, that we're going to help them develop their careers. We can do specific courses around CVs, around job applications, if that's appropriate, or if you work within a business that has a recruitment process that would mean they would need to apply for a job in a more formal way at the end, we can put them on courses to support them with that. We can also put them on a range of other courses that the skills providers are offering, and that will range from everything from introductions to social media, from care to customer service to youth work, really offering whatever people want. As in a gateway organisation, we'll be doing our best to help our skills providers bring together you as individual employers to make sure that the training that you want for your business is put on so that you can access as much of this funded training as possible to support the young person as well as to support your business. So that hopefully at the end of the 6 month, what we have is a wonderful young person who's really grown with your business and achieved lots of things and will either be really suitable to retain in business or will be well equipped to apply for a different job if they're leaving that market. Portsmouth City Council are working with Shaping Portsmouth, and we've got various things coming up. If you're going to be joining us for the Shaping Conference, hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about some of the work that we're going to be doing in partnership to try and make it as easy as possible for our business partners to access the funded opportunities that are available across the city and to make the most of Kickstart and all the different opportunities that are out there to help us recover under COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Really, really helpful summary there, and great to see all of the local skills providers and colleges getting stuck in to help employers find that right combination of employability and technical skills to move that career on for that individual. And as I said from the beginning, the Kickstart programme is about helping you and your business, but also about helping young people in the city that need that step up and need an opportunity to progress their career. So yeah, really, really helpful overview. Thanks, Jane. So Stu, if we could just get back onto the slides, please. I'm just going to talk to you very quickly about the Shaping Portsmouth offer. So we've got a free set of 3. I need to get my threes around the right way. It's my Portsmouth tongue there tripping me up. But these are masterclasses focused on personal and professional development aimed at Kickstarters, and we're going to run these masterclasses, as I say, completely free for employers to engage in them as part of our contribution to making sure Kickstart is a really successful experience, and also for those young people to have access to some really inspiring individuals. Now, each session will be led by a local thought leader or an expert. And we've targeted really aspirational young professionals to deliver these workshops in the hope that it will provide a role model and somebody to connect with that will be a powerful connection for those young people taking part in the Kickstart programme. And it's part of our commitment to and for your employers to develop the whole person, and that's really what those masterclasses are focused on achieving. And again, it comes back to that mission statement of trying to make Portsmouth the best city to live, learn, work, invest and visit. So I'll just show you the 3 masterclasses we're going to be focusing on. So we've got one personal resilience workshop led by Ben Dowling, who's a co-founder at Unlock, but also Portsmouth City Councillor, again with that theme of aspirational young people, young professionals in the city. We've got an investing in your own self-development and individual brand, I should say, led by Hope McKellar of Hope McKellar PR, as well as hopefully a panel of others that will support that. And we're also going to offer building a professional online presence workshop as well. As I say, this is about helping those young people to develop the skills that they're going to need beyond their placement with you. It's about investing in the whole person. And that's really what we hope to achieve with these masterclasses. We'll send out details early in the new year about when those masterclasses will run, and we will run them on repeat, so you're able to engage with them at multiple points throughout the year next year. As Kerry mentioned, you can offer a Kickstart placement throughout 2021, and you can put your bid in now for that placement, but it doesn't necessarily need to start till much later in the year. So that's why we're going to offer those sessions on repeat. We'll also record those sessions and pop them onto the Shaping Portsmouth website, so you can direct any Kickstart placements to that set of resources as well. So we hope that will be a really useful set of resources. So at this point, I'm going to stop in terms of the presentations and offer an opportunity for people to ask any questions that they have about the Kickstart placement. And then finally, once we've concluded on the Q&A, we'll just recap on some of the key links for you as employers to utilize to get your placement off the ground. So I haven't seen anything in the chat. Oh, we've got something coming in now.
So I've received one question privately from Catherine Clegg. I think it might have been answered during Jane's presentation, but we'll just check in to make sure that you've had the answer that you were expecting, Catherine, which was, when do we receive the wage money as employers? Is it monthly as we pay them on our payroll?
Yes, it is monthly. I think initially you get the £1,500 up front and then monthly payments after that.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
There's an element of management required for cash flow, as I'm not sure exactly what date it will come through. I don't know if you know any more about that, Jane, from the partnership grant aspect.
Okay, and you're just on mute. Just need to unmute yourself quickly.
Hopefully that's worked. Right. That worked okay? Lovely. So yes, we're definitely advising our partners that they need to manage the cash flow. You receive the £1,500 within the first couple of weeks, but then you are paid retrospectively. So after you've paid out your monthly wages, so you just need to be aware of that in managing the finances. You do get it back every month now. Government have changed that, but it is paid retrospectively. So you'll have paid it out and it'll be a week or two afterwards that we'll actually get the money to pay out to you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. So we've got a couple of questions coming in. Stuart, what one do you want to go for next?
So we'll take a question from Richard Search. Can two small organisations share one Kickstart person, for example, 12.5 hours a week each?
Well, that's a good one. I don't think so at the moment. One of them would have to register their company's number at the moment. Whether they could then lend them out to another employer, I would say no at the moment, but I'll take that away just in case something changes.
Thanks, Kerry. Really helpful, and I'm sure if we get any clarity on that, we can circulate that along with the slides. Good stuff. Next up,
and while we're on the subject of slides, a few people are messaging me privately. I will be emailing the slide deck out to everybody that registered, so don't worry, you will all receive a copy of it. The next question is from Holly Eastlick. If we identify young people ourselves who would like to access our placements, do we signpost them to Job Centre Plus?
Yes, please. One of the questions we've been asked quite a lot is, can people ring fence vacancies for particular applicants? I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. You'd need to put the job on the system. Our work coaches will identify people who are suitable for the vacancy and they can apply. However, If you've got young people coming to you that you think would be good, advise them to speak to their work coach and make sure they're in line to apply for those vacancies when they come up. And then, of course, you can do your recruitment process and pick however you like. But we can't ring fence them for specific people, or at least we can't at the moment. They are looking at ways to support people with learning disabilities and things next year, which might be able to do it the other way around. We might be able to go out and find Kickstart vacancies for particular customers, but at the moment, it's the other way around.
Thanks, Kerry, really helpful. Stuart, do we have any more questions? I've not seen anything else come into the chat.
Nothing else has come into the chat. There is one question which one attendee has sent to Kerry privately and would not like that question answered publicly. But Kerry, if you could make touch with the person who has sent you the private message, that would be much appreciated. I think, Mark, did you have your hand? Mark Waldron?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Stuart. Yeah, I was halfway through typing. I've got 3 questions, so I just thought it'd be easy if I stopped typing and actually asked the questions. So thanks, Hayden and Jane and Kerry, for the presentation. Absolutely fantastic. So is there a limit to the number of places PCC can actually offer? Is there a maximum threshold that you're allowed to offer a certain amount of places across the city, or can you just keep on offering as many as possible?
No, we can do as many as we like. It's currently unlimited. So no, literally we can do as many as we like. We have to put in for different cohorts. So we have to have at least 30 in every cohort we put in. So at the moment, I think we're approved for 93 placements off the top of my head, and we're just compiling the next 30 as soon as we've got at least 30. And obviously it takes a little bit of time for employers to get their bit together to make sure they've got their job description right. Then we're sort of putting in regularly, and we're working with other Kickstart gateways to make sure that people are getting theirs processing as quickly as possible. First cohort took about 9-10 weeks to actually get approved, but we're seeing them coming through much quicker now. DWP are in a flow with their staff, so hopefully we'll be looking more like the recommended process, which will be about 4 weeks from when we apply to getting approval for you guys to actually recruit.
Okay, thank you. Another quick question was just to clarify, and if I wait for the deck, I'll find this out. But does the £1,500 per person go to the employer or yourself?
The £1,500 comes into us as a gateway organisation, but we pay that straight out, and we've committed that we'll pay that out to you within 5 working days of receiving it. So that £1,500 grant against each individual gateway is for the host organisation, and that's for you to spend as you feel appropriate. Okay,
thank you. And my bigger question is, we at the News still are very much a remote organisation. So is that going to bar us taking on somebody where at the moment a lot of what they might be doing would be remotely? I'm thinking about pastoral care. I'm thinking about getting them set up at home with broadband and a laptop and everything. Is that going to count against us if we were looking at that situation at the start of the year?
I love that I'm just continuing to talk, so sorry anyone else that wanted to hear anyone else's voice talk, but no, that absolutely doesn't. I think we have to be careful to make sure the placements are appropriate, that we're putting the right people in those, and we are doing that pastoral care. It is important if you're going to take on a young person, and we do recognise that these young people are people with less work experience, so they may well need more support. That is the point of the placement. We're getting young people who wouldn't otherwise have opportunities off universal credit into employment, so we need to think about it. But no, I'm working with lots of employers that plan to work their Kickstart partially or completely remotely. As an organisation, you just need to be prepared for what that is. But if you're already working staff remotely, you know what that means and how we need to support each other to make sure it works. So a remote Kickstart placement is quite feasible.
It's a great question, Mark, and Unlock is taking on some Kickstart placements, and we're working fully remotely, and we're hoping to be able to integrate them into the team. All of us are working from home at the moment, so it's a great question. Stuart.
Yeah, so the next question that came up in the chat was from Sean Sweeney, just looking for a bit of clarification about the minimum number of placements a business has to have. Obviously, Kerry mentioned about 10 placements. Who would like to come in on that one?
Yeah, I'll do that one. No, the minimum is 1. You can have 1, you can have 10, you can have 20. It really depends on how many people you think you can support. But plenty of people are just having 1 person, so don't worry about that at all.
Okay, Kerry, yeah, because you just mentioned you mentioned at the outset in the slide 30 placements, and then in the conversation it was mentioned 10. So it was just a bit of clarity around that,
so
please.
30, yeah, sorry, the 30 is if as an employer on your own, you would need 30 placements. If you can't do 30 placements, then you need to go either with a group of other employers. So, 3 employers with 10 each, for example, or 6 employers with 5 each, or you can go via a gateway organisation and have 1, 2, 3, whatever you wish.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question on the list was from Richard Search. Does starting a Kickstarter later in the year, for example, March, mean that you'll be grouped with other companies starting in March, or does it just go in when it reaches the next set of 30, regardless of the start date?
No, certainly I'm probably best placed to answer that. And I've already applied for placements on behalf of employers who aren't going to start until March, April, or others that are unsure of when they're going to do their start date yet. But they know that they're committed to taking on a Kickstart. So if you come with us as a gateway, then we would put it forward and secure you the funding as soon as you're ready to apply, really. Obviously, that might change from gateway to gateway, but I think we're all working in a very similar way. All of the gateway organisations, certainly locally, we're all working together. We're all trying to support employers. So we'll try and work in the way that's in your best interests as a business.
Thanks, Jane. Stuart.
Yeah, so David Patterson has asked, are the Kickstart funds subject to de minimis limits? David, perhaps you might want to explain, because I certainly don't know what a de minimis limit is.
I do.
Yeah,
it does. Wonderful.
Jane, do you want to take that one? Is it one we might need to take away?
I'll be honest. No, not really. I was hoping Kerry was going to jump forward. No, I don't. I don't believe it is, David. And I won't hold it against you for you asking the most difficult question of the day. I think we might need to confirm officially if Kerry's not ready to jump forward, but certainly I haven't seen anything in the application process that indicates it would be. And having dealt with funding a lot, I would have expected that to have been loud and clear by now. But we'll probably take that away, Kerry, if you're happy to, just to get 100% confirmation.
Yeah, I will take it away. I'm 99.9% sure it doesn't, because it's not that sort of funding. I mean, I know a lot of the other stuff we do is affected around that, but nobody's mentioned that at all with regards to Kickstart. But just to be 100% sure, I will take that away.
Thanks, Kerry, and I'm sure we can circulate that with the slides, and that will provide clarity for everybody. Stuart, any other questions?
Yeah, I've had another one come through to me privately. So from Tracy McClaw, there are high levels of unemployment among recent graduates. Does this mean that some placements offered can ask for a higher skill set than might be expected of a school leaver?
Yes, and we've seen that already. It's not all about school leavers. It's up to the age of 24. So we've already had some quite technically advanced job descriptions coming through. What I can't tell you is how many graduates in Portsmouth we've got claiming benefits, because we don't sort of record that sort of information. We record people by their age, etc. But I can't tell you how many are claiming universal credit at the moment.
Jane, I don't know if you can jump in and tell us how many young people in that bracket are currently on universal credit in the city, just for context, really.
So I think, and again, Kerry is probably the quiz master of statistics, but we're at about 1,900 young people in the 16 to 24 age bracket currently claiming universal credit. Anecdotally, I completely agree. We're seeing a lot more of the more technically qualified, whether that's postgraduate or post level 3, even level 4 qualified, young people who've potentially achieved an apprenticeship but haven't been able to retain business. Obviously, Kickstart is about getting young people in that age bracket into work, and we're very aware within that a lot of these young people will have limited or even no employment experience. But certainly from my perspective, we're finding jobs coming through that are at all levels, so real starting entry points right the way through. You can, sorry, I can see that popping up in the questions as we're going on, you can definitely specify a skills level you need. Obviously, what we can't guarantee is if you say, I want a degree in biology, I'm sure that's not probably what you want. But if you say a degree in biology, we can't guarantee that there are young people to give you a breadth, but you can specify it, and you don't have to take on anyone that doesn't meet your needs. What we'd always encourage all of our employers to be is open to people that can develop the skills that you want. So we may also have young people who've maybe started university or gained some skills through college courses, and the rest maybe not at the level, but are there and might be suitable to apply. It is like any other job in the fact that you put the job description together and you as an employer decide whether this is a young person that you're going to give the opportunity to. We're just encouraging everyone, because clearly it is a government scheme that's very much about getting young people off universal credit and developing the skills they need for sustained employment, to be flexible. But yes, absolutely, you can specify in that job description what you want. Would you agree with that, Kerry?
Yeah, I would. I think, like you said, we'd have to manage your expectations, because whether we'll have a graduate with the particular degree that you're after is something I can't tell you in advance. If you just want someone educated to a degree level, that's one thing. But specific, if you start looking at very specific qualifications, we wouldn't be able to. There's no way, unfortunately, for us to trawl through our system to see how many people we've got who might be in that situation. Unfortunately, our universal credit system doesn't give us that option. It just tells us how many people are aged 18 to 24 on, or 16 to 24 on universal credit. So yeah, I just need to manage your expectations. If you're really, really hoping for that person, we'll look and we'll see what we've got for you, but I can't guarantee it.
Thanks, Kerry, really helpful.
The next question is a couple that have come in to me on the private channel, which are quite HR related. So Stephanie Notowski asks, how do sick pays and holidays work for the Kickstarter? And what happens if there are performance issues with the Kickstarter? In that case, do you go back to the DWP coach for assistance?
The DWP coach can still support them while they're on the placement. However, they are employees. So you would treat them in the same way you would treat any other employee with regards to sick pay, holiday pay, everything else, your policies around if they're not doing what they need to be doing. However you would normally deal with that, that's how you would continue.
Can I just jump in and say that if you do have a performance issue with a Kickstart, as a gateway organisation, certainly we would do our best to support you to resolve those. But certainly one of the questions we've had from some employers is, if they take someone on, do they have to keep them? And like any other member of staff, you don't. But again, just taking it back to that managing expectations. This is a government scheme. It's about taking young people off universal credit, and some may need a little bit more support to get into the flow of work or to understand the context. And we would want to work with you to try and help that placement work as best we can. If you do need to part company with a young person, then we do need to make sure that the work coach in the job centre is aware of that and why it's fallen apart, so that obviously we can make sure that support is in play. But hopefully we won't see too much of that, and we'll see much more young people growing and flourishing in these placements.
Super stuff. I can see a couple more coming through on chat, Stuart.
Yeah, so the next one is from Joanne Bushnell. If you don't find a suitable applicant from the first group of people who come forward, are you able to restart the recruitment process?
Yes, you can. So the way it works is you set the recruitment process, which gets loaded onto our system. And for example, you might ask for 10 applications with a view to interviewing 5 people. If you don't find who you want, the vacancy is effectively closed on our system. But if you contact us, we can revive it so that you could have 10 more applications, for example.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kerry. Great to see the chat being really active. If you've got any questions, please do pop them in there and we'll do our best to filter those through.
So the next one is from Chris Hillman. If you take on a Kickstarter who has additional needs or disabilities, are you still able to get access to work funding to provide additional support, or will this trigger double funding?
No, because they're an employee, you can use access to work.
That was a nice, simple one. Thanks, Kerry.
Yeah,
good stuff.
easy.
Another question from Tracy. If the young person claiming universal credit is receiving an element to assist with housing costs, will this continue once they're taken on under Kickstart?
That's going to depend on their personal circumstances, but in theory, yes, because they're still probably going to be on a low income. If they're on, 25 hours a week at national minimum wage, then the chances are they're still going to be able to get some of the housing element. I mean, that's the beauty of universal credit. It's an in-work and out-of-work benefit. So it will take into account their earnings and then top them up accordingly. If, though, for example, you pay them extra to do additional hours, then that case could be slightly different. So everybody is looked at on an individual case-by-case basis, but that is the beauty of universal credit, in that it can adjust accordingly.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kerry. And a couple more questions in the chat there.
Yeah, so the next one is from Holly. If a young person is eligible for universal credit but not currently receiving it, do they need to sign up for it first in order to be eligible for a placement under Kickstart?
Yeah, that's another easy one. Yes, they must be on universal credit to be eligible at the moment.
Great stuff. Thanks, Stuart. I'm not seeing any more questions. Have any come through to you privately?
No, that's it for now. I'm going to quickly switch over my view mode to see if anyone's waving frantically at me. I'm not seeing any raised hands or people waving frantically at the moment.
Cool.
Steph is now waving. Steph, what's your question, please?
I've just put a message into Hayden's private box and it said, "This is brilliant. Well done to all. Absolutely phenomenal interactive session. And thank you to all the organisers. It's just brilliant." And I think Hayden's going to cover the masterclasses and who we will offer those to, Hayden, aren't you?
Thanks for the prompt, Steph. We should be doing the Panto this year, I think. So the masterclasses are open to any employer in the city. You do not need to be a shaping partner or a shaping associate. The masterclass is open to any business in the city. And we really want them to be utilised far and wide. And we think they're going to be an excellent resource. If they are really well received and lots of employers take us up on that opportunity, we may look at extending it further and offering other masterclasses in the near future too. But it's completely free and it's open to everyone. So if we've not got any other questions, I'm just going to flick across. If you've got a final question, this is your last chance. Just wave at me. It looks like we've covered them all off. Hopefully that means we've answered all your questions. So Stuart, if we could just very quickly flick up that final slide with the key calls to action, that would be super. So whilst that's happening, I just want to say a big thank you to Jane and to Kerry for doing such an excellent job of answering all of our questions today and also giving you an overview of the programme. I hope it's been useful. At Shaping Portsmouth, we really want to add value to businesses in the city, and hopefully this has done exactly that. So if you've got any questions at all, or you would like to access the PCC offer of registering a Kickstart placement through them, you can use the email on the screen there. Really simple, kickstart@portsmouthcc.gov.uk. Again, you'll receive these slides out on email, but it's a really simple email address. And if you've got any questions that you've not had an opportunity to ask today, or something crops up later in the week or over the weekend, then do just drop us a line on that email address. There's also a link there for some more information on the Kickstart scheme on gov.uk. Again, you can access that. And then finally, a bit of a plug. If you're not yet signed up for Shaping Portsmouth's digital conference in the new year, please do so. It's going to be a really positive event. We've got lots of really interesting speakers and lots of really valuable workshops for employers as well. So you can see the link on there. It's www.shapingportsmouth.co.uk/conference. And we've been really impressed with the number of organisations signing up to be part of that event. It's going to be really fabulous. I just can't wait to see all of our kind of passionately Portsmouth community coming together on that date in January. So please do register for that. It will be one not worth missing. So again, a big thank you to Jane, a big thank you to Kerry and of course Stuart for doing such an excellent job of guiding us through this session today. As I say, any final questions, please do drop them through to the email address that we've shown on screen. So thanks everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope to see you all at Shaping a Portsmouth event, hopefully the conference very soon.